thought is about schools, liberalism, and why are public schools so bad? And I'll tell you, it's bad because they're more concerned with social issues than education. Liberal policies are causing schools to be disruptive, so good learners can't learn. And everybody's suffering, including our future economy. Why? Because our education system ranks pretty shitty compared to the rest of the world, where liberal policies have not infected their schools. I mean, take China, for instance, or Japan, or any of them Asian countries where kids go to school 13 hours a day and they step out of line. And maybe this isn't the correct action, but, teachers can pretty much beat their students there. I'm not saying that that's right. I'm just saying that we can find a middle ground. So, why am I bringing this up? Because day after day, I see in the news, especially in our urban schools, but it affects everywhere, that the schools are just out of control. Teachers who don't get paid enough, especially in inner city schools where it's the most dangerous, are disrespected. Their classrooms are disrespectful. There is no more discipline because it's called racist, or you're hurting the special needs kids or something stupid. And we need to find a solution, and we need to find it quick, because our schools are bleeding school teachers. Some of our poorest paid schools, our poorest funded schools, have the poorest paid teachers. And those poorest paid teachers deal with the biggest problems. Okay? And we're going to get into that much deeper during this episode of Tater Thoughts. But before we do that, please like and subscribe this, whether you're on Facebook Live, make sure you like it, comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, or go over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. It really helps get the word out. So, let's get right into this. This is what brought this out today. 10 separate fights break out in Maryland high school in a single day. Months after Administrator Popular, the parents was mysteriously put on leave. Why was he put on leave? Well, I guess he probably believed in a little bit of school discipline. Now, when I was a kid in Texas, they could still spank you in school, even though most of the liberal states got rid of it. And I'm not saying spanking is the right solution, because there are other creative solutions, and we'll get deeper into that in a second. But 10 fights in a single day at one school? That's out of control. Oh, and these same liberal policies that operate these schools and the teachers' unions decided to defund the police departments that used to patrol the hallways in some of our most dangerous schools. Why? Because they felt like it was discriminatory, because it happened that certain racial demographics or special needs students were getting arrested more often than others. But we can do this in a more fair way. Here's some more stuff. One, Springfield Public Schools, this is I think in Illinois, they're so mad that the teachers have a sick out. Now, these same teachers are represented by their liberal union that they support, which really works against the teachers and definitely against education. Student incident, Prounce DeSoto ISD. I don't know where that's at, but this school was so ballsy that a student attacked a teacher and was allowed back on campus the very same day. The very same day. Not kicked out of school, not disciplined, not sent home, not put into a special program or a special school for troubled youth where experts can deal with them. But no, they just let them back in. Dozens of teachers reportedly called in sick on Friday after they said administrators allowed a student back on campus after allegedly assaulting a teacher. Here's just a few examples I got. Top right video shows student brutally attacking their teacher in the hallway. That teacher had no chance against that student who's just beating her savagely. This is something I saw growing up in schools in my hometown of Flint, Michigan. Teachers getting slapped, cussed out, nothing you can do about it. Go to the principal's office. Nah, F you, I ain't doing anything. They get up there and they just slap the teacher. And God forbid the teacher protects themselves. Then they get arrested, charged, or fired. I mean, so it's a no-win for these poor people. It's almost like a teacher needs to have a panic button under their desk, and then the defunded police that aren't there could have showed up and gotten the situation under control. But no, liberal policies. This young guy over here attacked on a teacher. He's facing 15 charges. I think he's been convicted. And this on the bottom right, this is the most egregious one. The video's out there. You can see it. It's brutal. That teacher had the gall to take a cell phone away from a student during the school day. Stomped on her, beat her unconscious. 230-pound student, I think, on that poor little teacher. And then the liberal defense attorneys tried to get the teacher, thinking that she's probably a liberal, to try to go in and minimize the sentence. She refused, thank God. Smart. I mean, usually liberals are their own worst enemies. Look what's happening with the Jewish split in the Democrat Party. The survey found 44% of teachers report being physically attacked by students. 44% of teachers have been attacked by their own students. But yet we do nothing about it. We have reparative justice programs where they sit and talk about their feelings instead of being disciplined. Why did you do that, Johnny? Why? Do you think you could have handled that better? You punched that teacher in the nose. You disrupted class for 45 minutes. And oh, by the way, each class is only 55 minutes. So all the other students that are trying to behave and actually learn, who would really like to go to college, and if anything, we need the best schools in the inner city so that we can get this racial disparity gap away, which is unfathomable in America, that there's such an achievement gap. Well, part of it is because a lot of students of color happen to be in very undisciplined schools. And they say, oh, lack of school funding, but certain school districts get more per student than in the inner city than others. And there's no achievement gap difference. Why? Teachers' unions. But we'll get more into that. Real reasons for lack of school discipline. This is what I've come up with. First and foremost, fatherless homes. Now, I know divorce happens, shit happens, but fathers can be more present in their kids' lives, even if they don't live with them. A lot of that's being addressed, thank God, in the family courts. When I got my first divorce, it was so against the male. I got my kids every other weekend and on Wednesday. And I tried to call my kids every night. Liberal judge said, no, you don't have a right to call your kids every night. I said, Judge, I get them 4 days a month and dinner with them on Wednesday nights. What kind of father can I be to my kids for that? Well, on her time, it's on her choice whether or not those children can answer that phone and have time with you. And I was just flabbergasted. I said, no wonder. I mean, you got these dads that are trying, and then you got these spiteful mothers who will literally, not all moms, most moms are great. I'm talking about, let's say 10, 20%, right? That will literally prevent the father from being in the life. And then because the military moved me away, not only did I have to pay 100% of the travel costs, but then she just wouldn't put the kid on the plane and said, oh, well, file a complaint with the judge. It'll take a year to be heard. And she was right. Nothing I can really do. And all they'll do is make up more parenting time. And maybe if she did it 10 times over 10 years where I just didn't see my kid, she might get a contempt charge and thrown in jail for 30 days. It's ridiculous. Fatherless homes are killing America, period. And I'll show you statistics in a minute. Why? Well, for the absent father, you're leaving that mom to work 1, 2, maybe 3 jobs just to support the home. Plus, she's got to monitor school's achievement, or the kids' achievement in school, get him to church, do all the social things that a 2-parent home does. I mean, it really does take 2 people to raise a kid. That's why it takes 2 people. God was smart. A little bit of biology. 2 people make a kid. That way, one parent's working, the other's watching, while the other parent's working, the other parent's watching. Monitoring grades, making sure that they're, not having sex themselves at 10 years old. Okay, it takes a lot to raise a kid, and I've raised 4 of them. I've done a pretty good job, all things considered. Not perfect, but I think I did a pretty damn good job. I take fatherhood very seriously. And it's the liberal policies that are doing it. They might have big hearts or wrong solutions. That's the voters. But really, Democrat Party fears fathers in the home. Why? Because the more people they have on welfare, the more people that vote for them because they are the party of welfare. Vote Democrat. That's what they're going to do. Oh, and it's cyclical. So their kids are going to more than likely do the same. Voters just have big hearts. Like, hey, yeah, we need help. Or, hey, why don't we help these poor people? They don't realize that some of the policies are incentivizing absent fathers. Think about it. It used to be, you needed a breadwinner and a caretaker in the home. But now you got free housing through Section 8, if you can get it. Your food is covered. Your medical's covered. Uh, the schools are then now forced to be dad. And here's the other thing too. Don't blame the teachers, even though they support a union that works against them and that supports all this nonsense. But you can't blame the teachers. You can't have kids that come from shitty homes or absent homes where the kids are running the streets and because the law says they have to go to school, and if the truancy program is good and they get them to school, the teacher's supposed to all of a sudden be their mom and dad, give them clothes because they have dirty clothes, feed them. We already feed them breakfast and lunch. Even during the pandemic, they can still get it. My kids come from a pretty upper middle class home, and one of them got a welfare card in the mail, food stamps, just for being in a certain school district. It's not the government's job. Yes, it might take a village to raise a child, and I believe in that. Back when I was a kid, you messed up, Miss Johnson down the street, if she didn't just grab you up and whoop you a little bit, she definitely knew your parents' phone number and who they were, and they got a hold of you, and then you got taken home. And I had a dad in the home who was pretty ruthless. He would beat the tar out of us. I'm not saying that's always the solution, but at least we had discipline. And it's, like I said, cyclical. So they're just going to keep voting the same thing over and over again. So Democrats, worst thing a Democrat wants, a politician wants, it's a Democrat, is fathers in the home. The other thing is that they blame discipline on racism. It's not racial. Kids aren't born in a certain race that are all of a sudden just going to be criminals. No, it's fathers, sons, poverty, and all that. And it's all cyclical. It's just a vicious cycle. Less money in the home because father's not there or not paying child support or not forced to. I think that's one great thing from my home state of Michigan that they do right. They have the highest child support enforcement rate. You don't pay child support in Michigan and they catch you, you go to jail until you got a down payment on you back child support and a plan to pay it back. They don't play around. Why? Because it's not the taxpayer's job to raise your kid. It's the father's job who enjoyed the sex and the mom who enjoyed the sex. It's their job to collectively raise their kid. Yes, people need hand-ups, not handouts. But the Democrat Party loves to give handouts because it's effectively buying votes. So quit blaming racism. Yes, due to the fact that certain demographics have a higher fatherless rate, there is more crime in certain demographics, but it's not the color of the skin, that's just pigmentation. I happen to have not much pigmentation. That doesn't make me less likely to be a criminal. I just had a mom and a dad in the home. Were they perfect? No. But I had a mom and dad in the home. I was raised in a church. And then, of course, now, because of absent fathers, we're just throwing kids on IEPs. That's like a special needs program. They got ADD, you're on an IEP. You have a stutter, you're probably on an IEP. You walk funny, you're on an IEP. Well, guess what? Those students cannot be disciplined. I think the law, federal law, says that they cannot have more than 10 out-of-school absences, like suspensions, in a given year. So if you messed up 9 times, punched 9 teachers, you get basically a day out of school. It's dumb. Here's proof. Can the school give my child without an IEP unofficial suspensions? What's been happening to get around that? Some schools are saying, hey, come pick up your kid. It's not a suspension. He's just acting up or she's just acting up. Take her home for the day. Really, they're kind of suspending the child. And so now they're fighting back against that. The other thing, again, is liberals love to pull the race card. And Education Week, probably written by a liberal, this opinion, quote, district and school leaders are caught between a rock and a hard place. Teachers and parents are demanding safer schools. Teachers don't want to get beat the hell up every time they go to school for $30,000 a year. I wouldn't either. But yet equity advocates highlight persistent racial inequality in suspensions and expulsions and growing evidence of the school to prison pipeline. You know how there's a school to prison pipeline? You think the courts want to deal with these kids? No, they don't have a dad to go home to be disciplined. They don't. They're lucky if they got an uncle that'll come over and discipline that kid. So of course it's a prison pipeline. The courts are having to serve the function of a parent. Back when I was young and not a very safe school, but if you got in a fight, you called the parents, yeah, the kid's suspended, but dad took care of business when they got home. That doesn't happen anymore. Now it's hug a thug programs. Dad's gone. There's no other choice but to send them to the court system. Because mom can't do it by herself. Simple as that. She's working 2, 3 jobs. She's worn out. She's stressed out. And by the way, when Johnny turns 14, he's bigger than mom. Was she, bend 14 over John, force? If Johnny's going to beat up a teacher or another student, probably not very scared of mom. Student behavior has worsened as students are still readjusting to life after the disruption of the pandemic. Another liberal policy. None of those kids should have been sent home to learn at home. None of them. It was proven. COVID wasn't killing kids. Okay? They're killing older people that are fat like me with underlying health conditions like other people. Thank God I don't have underlying health conditions. Infractions like vaping and banned cell phone use is on the rise. Take cell phones out of the kids' hands during the school day. Okay? There's no need for them. They should be locked up. They cannot come out. But of course, we see what happens if some kids without dads have the cell phone taken away. Poor teacher gets stomped on. Solutions. Because I like to say problems, but I like to bring on solutions that are middle of the road. Limit IEPs in regular schools. Have special blocks of schools and classrooms that are just for those students where we can dump resources like 4 teachers' aides, behavioral health professionals in those classrooms. But if they mess up, there's got to be a consequence. What happens when they're 18 and they go to college? There's no IEP program. You go to the workplace and you have ADD. I mean, and most of these kids don't have ADDs. They have absent fathers, and it's easier just to throw them on a drug. Or we could do what other schools in other countries do. Up until the age of, let's say, 8, 9, 10 years, they have all-boy elementary schools. And they have all-girl elementary schools, because girls learn different than boys. Girls can sit still more often. They learn more interactive. Boys need to burn energy, and then you can try to catch up with the education loss. But then you have specialized classrooms, and then you have even more specialized classrooms or schools for kids that really do have behavioral problems. Quit mixing them. I know we're trying to be equitable and fair, but you don't play equity and fairness with the most formative ages where their brains are soaking up information and they can go on to college. You have regular learners sitting there for 35, 40 minutes waiting for the class to calm down because kids can get away with almost anything in a classroom now. And that's 30 to 40 minutes that they're being robbed, especially in inner city schools. And then you say, oh, well, there's an achievement gap between, let's say, Howard County schools in Maryland, which is a wealthy county, and Baltimore City schools. Well, if Howard County has less disruption in the class, let's say it only takes 10 minutes out of 55 minutes for the class to calm down, they're getting 45 minutes a day or per hour of solid education. If it takes 30 minutes to calm down the Baltimore City school, they're getting, say, 25 minutes. That accumulates over the years, over the months, even the days and the years. If Howard County school kids are getting 400 school hours more of education simply because of class discipline, of course there's going to be an achievement gap. I mean, come on. Common sense. That's where we got to start. This is where Trump, even though he's an idiot when he talks, but his policies were just common sense. You can't just have an open border. You have to be tough with tyrants like Kim Jong-un. You know what I mean? You have to take on the trade imbalance of China. It's just common sense. Encourage father involvement. That could be through child support, but also on the women's side, where you have evil ex-wives, like mine acted, and they try to alienate the kid from the father just to win. But we can force fathers to be more involved with their kids, even if it's the hand of the law. Because I'd rather the father who's being an asshole be in court than the child, because the father's being an asshole or the mother's being an alienator. If you're worried about racial makeup, let's use discipline boards or teen courts or whatever, made up of educators and principals on a board that they hurry up, they convene, they look at the evidence, and then people of the same racial makeup make up this board, then it's not them being racist, because they don't want to see kids not succeed, especially of their own underrepresented group in society. But enforce what they do. Quit coddling kids that don't want to be there. Set up special schools, because by law they have to be Most states until 16, they can't drop out. But set up special schools for them. If they're consistently a behavior problem, then have them go, to a more lockdown school program. Quit punishing the kids that are there to learn. Get the teachers unions to shut up and listen to parents. I know teachers unions, and teachers support their union, which I don't get, because all they do is get them more money, which they deserve. But besides that, all their policies work against classroom safety. I mean, it's like a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders. And get out of the social issues. Focus on education, especially in the schools that need it the most. Get out of the, we got to make sure Johnny, whose pronouns are said correctly, otherwise the teacher's fired. I mean, that's just so stupid. I get it. There's going to be diversity in the classroom. But education's number one. Math, science, STEM programs, reading, history. Add extra gym hours. If a kid is a behavior problem, have them do gym first thing in the morning and in the middle of the day, and wear the kid out. At worst, the kid will just sleep in the classroom and everybody else can learn. Here's some proof that will scare the hell out of Democrats. The importance of father involvement. Children who grow up with involved fathers, 39% more likely to earn mostly A's in schools. 45% less likely to have to repeat a grade. That's a novel idea. 60% less likely to be suspended or expelled from school. 2 times as likely to go to college and find stable employment after high school. 75% less likely to have a teen birth. And if they have a teen birth, their education's shot. By the way, it's usually very cyclical, like I said. And 80% less likely to spend time in jail. You want to end the pipeline from schools to prison? Have fathers present. Encourage fathers to be able to come into the school and just sit there and watch Johnny if they have to. Make it a condition of welfare. Make it a condition of probation. If the father's a criminal themselves, hey, we'll shave. For every week that you can prove that you were sitting in the school quietly watching your own kid learn, because guess what? Most kids aren't going to F up if their father's sitting there. If they happen to be on probation or a tax incentive or whatever, make it a condition of welfare, whatever. Let's get fathers involved in these schools. And I'm not being a patriarch and all that. It's just that most kids that are from a single parent home live with their mom. And I feel bad. I mean, ultimately, it was their choice to have a kid, but still, it's usually mom that gets stuck with the whole load and an overburdened court system trying to enforce the father just to at least pay child support. They can't do it alone. Moms can't do it alone. There are a lot of super single moms out there. I'm not hating on you at all. I'm saying, as a society as a whole, I hate it when people say, well, I was raised by a single mom and I did great. Yeah, not all smokers get lung cancer. That's what I was saying. Not every kid that plays in the road is going to get hit by a car. But still smart. Hey, don't play in the road. Put them cigarettes away. I mean, come on. It's common sense. It's just absolute common sense. Bottom line, if people would quit with all the identity politics and all the bullshit, we can fix this problem and all the other problems we talk about. Again, like and subscribe. That has been today.